Millionaire husband stuffed inside a suitcase, and his name is Elize Matsunaga. His body was scattered just a couple of weeks ago before signing a billion-dollar deal.
Who could it be? Was he kidnapped for a ransom, or was it his gold-digging wife? And his friends never even liked her. Today we're going to be discussing about the billionaire's body found in 3 suitcases. So today's case takes place in Brazil, 2013, and that's where 48 years old Elize Matsunaga lived with his wife Elize, who was 38 years old at that time. So there was like 10 years of difference between them, and they seemed very happy together. They were super rich. Marcus was a multimillionaire CEO who was soon about to become a billionaire CEO. He was the owner of a food company called Heyy. It was like a pantry food kind of company in like packet food. So basically he owned like, there was like popcorns, noodles, chips, chopped up vegetables found in a packet. That's the kind of company he owned. That has been passed down in his family, which was then the owner Marcus. Marcus was the owner and he owned the pantry food. So this company was founded by his grandfather, and this has been going on for a few decades.
He then was about to sell his company to become a billionaire,
but he never really managed to sell his company because he was murdered. He met his wife, Elize, a little bit later in his life, because before that, he had a wife before her. He left his ex-wife for Elize. He was actually cheating on his ex-wife with other multiple women. Elize is not the first one though. So it's not like Elize came along and then she just broke the family. No, it wasn't Elize, it was Marcus himself. So then he actually decided that he wanted to divorce his ex-wife for Elize because, I don't know, suddenly she just turns out to be the one. So Marcus cheated on his wife in a very interesting way because he didn't get a lot of attention from women. His friends said that he wasn't that popular with ladies, but he did have a lot of urges, like he really wanted to cheat on his wife. So in order to cheat on her, what he would do, he would actually go online and he would actually go on escorting services and literally hire a woman. And that is where he met Elize. Elize was an escort on one of these websites, and it was called the M Class. So she made a profile and she put herself on there, and that's basically where Marcus and Elize met. At first it was just going to be like a couple of meetings, but then Marcus realized that he really did like Elize and that he actually wanted to make things serious with her. And like I said, he ends up leaving his ex-wife for Elize. Before even he got to know her, he straight away married her because he really liked her and he really thought that Elize was the one for him. So who was Elize? She came from a very troubled background. Her family were in severe poverty and she did suffer a lot of sexual abuse. While she was growing up, she went through a lot of sexual abuse by her stepfathers. So yeah, it was a rough childhood. She had a lot of random things happening to her while she was growing up. She had a group of boys like chasing her down the road, and another time she was kidnapped. Can't predict stuff like that to happen to you. I mean, it just happens. And the place that she lived wasn't even a good area. It wasn't a good place for kids. So she had a lot of things going on, especially in that area. She was chased by men. This wasn't just happening to her. This happened to other people that was growing up in that area. She managed to escape that dangerous area and not just live there anymore because she was like, I'm done. I'm not living there anymore. And she was also in an abusive household. She moved on with her life and she grew up to be a wonderful woman. Elize was known to be a very kind, caring person, and she was studying nurse. So it kind of makes sense that since she's actually such a nice person, it makes sense that she wanted to be a nurse. She wanted to care for other people. She wanted to take care of people. It actually makes sense where she's coming from. But that job didn't really turn out to be that great for her because honestly, she was actually really attached to those patients. Say if they got really sick, she would physically, mentally feel that pain. She was so upset about how things were going on with her nurses. Even if they died, she would actually be depressed. Like, she could not go on with her day. So hence, the job that she did as a nursing was just not okay for her because she could actually feel the grief of those who died. And the way she felt for those people, it seemed like as if those people were actually her family. Like, that's how she would feel for them. She couldn't really deal with the emotional side of it. And she still says that she remembers how one of her first patients died and how it was like a huge life changing for her because that really did take a toll on her mental health. And then she actually wanted to be a lawyer because simply she liked the sound of law. She got into law school, but in order to support herself, she had to pay for her tuition. So to pay for her tuition, what she did, she actually got into the escorting services just to pay for her tuition. She would also she did anywhere from full prostitution to kind of like a sugar baby, or she would just simply just go on dates with men. Take her out on a date, have sex with her, and then these men, and of course Elize, would just go on with their day, and yeah, that was it. And that was like the usual package, I think. Yeah, that's where she met multi-millionaire CEO Marcus Matsunaga. Marcus actually had a very good background because, like I said, he came from money, he knows money, and his family was always actually doing quite good. Marcus had a really good life. He just traveled a lot, he had the best of everything, he was just happy. In Brazil, Marcus's family was one of the richest family in Brazil at that time, and the Yoki company was one of the leading pantry foods. They were like really famous, and yeah, they were actually doing quite well. Marcus had managed to grow this company, he was in charge of it after his father, and of course the company turned out to be very successful. He did way better than his father and his grandfather, and the company just like bloomed because it did so well. Marcus turned Yoki into a household name. It was him that got into all of these different supermarkets. It was him that literally turned the company around. So yeah, Marcus was very successful, very rich, very well established. He was okay. He was doing okay. But the only thing Marcus missed in his life was ladies. He never really got a chance with ladies. No matter how much money and success he had, women weren't really interested in Marcus. It was because he wasn't attractive. Like, he didn't have what a man needed to have. This is what his friends kind of told the media, that the reason Marcus wasn't that successful with the ladies, because Marcus, I know I shouldn't be talking about looks, but Marcus wasn't that much of a looker. The only way a woman would even look at his way or even like him was only because of his money. Nothing else but money. And it was very suspicious at that time, because even his friends found it weird. The woman that was way out of his league, a gorgeous woman, would suddenly look at Marcus's way. So his friends found that very suspicious, and we're like, well, that's suspicious. Why do you like him? Women didn't really like Marcus for who he was. When Marcus's family still owned the company, while Marcus still didn't inherit the company yet, what he was struggling with was getting a girl. No girl really liked him, ever. And then all of a sudden his ex-wife ends up coming into his life, and when his ex-wife came into his life for the very first time, he sort of got married to her out of desperation. She was the first girl that ever said, yeah, I'm single, I want to get married. He's like, okay, fine, I'm marrying you. He only did that because he was desperate. This was the first woman that ever showed that she was interested in him, and so he was like, okay, fine, yeah, well, I'll just marry her, I guess. If that's how it's going to be, then so be it, I'll marry her. So after getting married, he realized that he was not happy, and he realized that he literally rushed into this marriage and that his decision wasn't right. But rather than getting a divorce, he would actually go on sites, escorting sites, and basically what he would do, he would literally cheat on his wife with multiple women through escorting sites. So instead of actually divorcing her, he would just cheat on her. And that is where Marcus met Elize, the woman that actually turned his head around. So he meets Elize through escorting services, and obviously he didn't really want to tell his friends and family about her. So he didn't really want to tell his friends and family that he was paying Elize to have sex with him. But he didn't really want to tell that part to his family, which I understand. He told his friends and family that they met at a coffee shop. Never really told anyone how he and Elize met, but when someone would ask, he would just kind of blow it up, and he would just kind of ignore it and would act like he didn't really hear what the other person was asking. But luckily no one asked, so he just went along and just told everyone, this Elize woman is my girlfriend. When Marcus first introduced Elize to his friends, they were a bit suspicious, and she was a very beautiful woman. She was a lot younger than him, at least a decade, obviously, and she was actually very attractive. She kind of had the stereotype of a woman, but a woman who didn't have a lot in the beginning. She doesn't own money, she can't really support herself, goes for the ugly old rich guys. And when his friends saw that, they're like, did you go mad? How could you date her? Can't you see that this girl is literally dating you for your money? His friends eventually did bring it up to him, but I feel bad for Marcus. He really didn't want to believe it. He believed that Elize clearly dated him because he had a good personality. That's what he wanted to believe. So he kind of just brushed it off. Whenever his friends would say anything, he would just brush it off and he would act like he didn't hear what they were saying. But in the back of his head, he knew that his friends were right. He really didn't want Elize to leave him. So what he did, he actually put a ring on her so that she doesn't leave. And the decision was really quickly, like really quick. Like he didn't even get to think about her. He didn't even get to know her. It was just really quick. He moved her into a massive mansion before they were even married. They moved in together. They had a good life together. And after that, they got married. Marcus loved drinking. He would drink red wine, and guess what? He also got Elize into wine as well. He would actually study wine. Anyways, two of them really loved wine. They loved drinking wine. They loved wine so much that Marcus literally had cellars built downstairs in his house, and he had wines worth $2 million. He had a secret room as well in his house, and in that room there was like tons of guns. So those guns were worth millions of dollars, and they also had ammos in it. And he also had like some really expensive art pieces. Like he had a lot of things in his house, like it was excess. The two of them actually, I mean, yes, he did spend a lot of money on his stuff and he would buy a lot of crazy things which didn't make sense. But the two of them did have a good life together. They would travel the world and they just saw everything together. Like they would do everything together. They were actually happy. Like when you see a good, genuine, happy couple, they were that. They were a power couple. They enjoyed good things. They enjoyed finer things in life, and not just that, they actually experienced all sorts of cultures because of the way they traveled so much. They kind of adapted into other people's culture as well. They literally they had a good life. They had a good life. So shortly after this, they decided that they wanted a baby. Elize came off her pills. They thought that without the pill you can actually get pregnant easily, but unfortunately for Elize, it wasn't that easy to get pregnant right away. And no matter how hard they tried, for some reason she could not get pregnant. She tried so much to get pregnant, but honestly for her it wasn't working for her. Thank goodness Marcus has a lot of money, and because of that obviously she went under a lot of treatments, IVF treatments, and because of that this happened. Like she finally got pregnant. The two of them finally had a beautiful baby girl, and after that, after Marcus's friends saw that how wrong they were, they actually apologized to Marcus and said, we're sorry, we're wrong. That Elize woman, she is a wife material, and seems like you're happy, that's what matters. So they knew that they were wrong because Marcus was actually happy. Yeah, Marcus was just really happy because of a baby. Like everything was going in his way. They enjoyed shooting and hunting animals. They would just shoot wild animals and they would just skin them. They also had a pet snake. What Marcus would do, he would just tell Elize that, hey, do you want to do this together? Do you want to do that together? And Elize was like, yeah, okay, fine, I don't mind. Like, but before that, Marcus had a problem with that because because every single girl he was with, they would be like, are you stupid? Are you dumb? You want me to do this? You want me to do that with you? That's disgusting. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. But Elize turned out to be different because Elize was actually interested and wanted to know what he was doing, what he was up to. She had an interest. She wanted to join along with him. So he's like, oh my gosh, I'm surprised that a woman wants to do this with me, that with me, go hunting with me, because every single woman that I've come across, all of them said that they didn't want to do it because they're scared or like they're disgusted, which I completely understand it is. But like, yeah, Marcus is, for the first time, he is happy that a woman is actually showing interest in what he is doing. Marcus is just happy that a woman appreciates him. But then in May 2012, Marcus Matsunaga disappears. He goes missing, and all of this happened right as he was about to close $1 million deal. So the police's immediate theory was that he is probably kidnapped because his wife reported him missing. Because everyone knew that this family was worth a lot of money. He definitely got kidnapped because nowhere on earth suddenly he's about to sign a deal and then boom, he goes missing. How does that happen? The police knew that at this point there was people that actually wanted to harm him as he was about to become a billionaire. So as Marcus Matsunaga went missing, their immediate theory was that Marcus Matsunaga was kidnapped for a ransom or something, but that's what the police thought. What the police did is they went around and they were asking people if Marcus had any kind of rivals or enemy, because at this time, while he was going to be a billionaire, the police thought that people were actually trying to take him out. Someone was probably not okay with Marcus being a billionaire, hence someone probably kidnapped him, or someone simply wanted to take him out of a business. So no one could really give the police any kind of information or whatsoever. The police asked Elize about his day-to-day life business and what was going on the day he went missing, what his schedule was, where he was, what he was doing that day, what he was wearing that day. The police wanted to know everything. Elize told the police that Marcus told Elize that he was actually going for a meeting with one of the buyers, like the person who's going to pay Marcus $1 billion deal. He told Elize that he was going to be very late and not to wait for him or anything at night. Like, he's going to be really late for the business that's actually going on. He told Elize, just go to bed because he's going to be late. He told Elize that if a meeting's like that long, he might as well just sleep over at the office so that he wakes up for his meeting the next day and he doesn't miss it. So Elize wakes up the next morning and Marcus is still not home. So she's thinking that, okay, Marcus told me that he was going to be busy throughout the whole day. So, okay, that's understandable. He's probably at the office, like he's busy. He's got his things going on. Okay, understandable. She never heard from him. She never got any of his calls or texts like the day he went missing. So right now, like obviously after hearing the whole story from Elize, what the police judge from this story is that Marcus definitely went missing, and that he definitely went missing, but he definitely got kidnapped. That's what the police thought. So as the days were going on, police were actually waiting for a ransom note or whatsoever. There was nothing. Like, days went by, day 1, day 2, day 3. Days went by, there was no call or whatsoever from Marcus. They thought that they were going to get the call or text from Marcus, Marcus's kidnapper any minute, any time of the day. But there was nothing, literally nothing. The police were trying their best to actually look for the millionaire, where the millionaire was. But they really did hope that maybe one day they will actually hear from Marcus. Maybe there was going to be some sort of communication. Maybe the kidnappers will negotiate a price and then let Marcus go. But there was nothing. The police was getting anxious and they were like, where is Marcus? Days go by. After a few days, what Elize does, she goes to her mother and father-in-law's house, who turns out to be Marcus's parents, of course. And while she goes there, she had something to tell them. What Elize tells her parents, her in-laws, is that Marcus left her, and she did not tell this information to the police. He packed his bag and he left. Like, just like that. So then the in-laws asked that, why would our son just leave you like that? It doesn't make sense. Like, why would he do that? Elize actually caught Marcus cheating on her. And this is not the first time. He had done this multiple times throughout this whole relationship. So he had cheated on his wife Elize multiple times, and for some reason she would always take him back. The only way Elize would take Marcus back is by him literally begging and crying and telling her to please take me back. When it was the first time that Elize caught Marcus cheating on her with a girl, obviously, Marcus begged and cried and he got his way. She also found out that she was pregnant with her daughter. So she was, okay, like, I'm actually pregnant. I can't really raise this daughter on my own. I need a man by my side. So she ends up letting Marcus back into their life. And like I said earlier, it was so hard for them to get pregnant. It was really hard for them to get pregnant. And the fact that Elize finally got pregnant, she was like, I really don't want to abort this baby as well. So I might as well keep the baby, and I might as well keep Marcus by my side because, you know, he is the father at the end of the day. So she actually took him back only because of a baby. And to be honest, on Elize's side, which is obviously understandable, she was actually heartbroken. She was upset. She couldn't believe that this man actually cheated on her after everything like they've been through. She was really heartbroken. She was about to divorce him. That's how sad she was. He decided to actually put this behind her and just let it be. And when he finally found out that his wife is pregnant, he was actually quite loyal. He was like, you know what, like, I'm going to put this behind me. I'm not going to cheat on her whatsoever. Like, it's done. I'm done. So for the first 2 years, he was actually quite loyal. But since Elize did forgive him, and since he did cheat on her, Elize wasn't completely over this because she was paranoid that her husband was probably cheating on her over and over again. She wanted to know where her husband was all the time. She needed reassurance. She needed to know what her husband was doing all the time. Like, that's how paranoid she was, which is quite understandable. What Elize did, she took her daughter and she went out of town for a week. The reason why she left is because she was actually going to visit her grandmother, who was very sick at that time, and it was around May. She was actually going back home to see some family. She thought that, okay, now that I'm out here, it is probably the perfect time to see if the husband's cheating on her. And of course, likewise, she thought that her husband would obviously cheat on her because she's out of town. So what Elize did, Elize actually hired a private investigator to watch and see what her husband's doing and note down everything that he does. She also told the private investigator to videotape everything. And oh my goodness, the amount of information she found out. She did good by hiring an investigator. Every single night for a week, while Elize was out of the house, Marcus was cheating on her every single day. It was all with the same woman. And of course, the woman is from an escort again, and the escort is called Natalia. And that is the same website where he found Elize. So basically, every single thing that he did with Elize, Marcus would bring that same woman from that escort, and he would literally take that woman out every single day and take her around to every single restaurant, movie, cinema, anything that he and Elize did together. He was actually doing the same thing with the same woman. And you know what? Funny thing is, he wasn't even scared that Ed catch him and obviously tell Elize. He wasn't bothered. He didn't care. He just did things freely, even kissing her on public. I mean, that lady. Obviously, this investigator has like crazy evidence of where Marcus was, who he went out with, where he was. This investigator has so much information. And now that he went missing, Elize went to the parents and she showed all the evidence of what Marcus was doing behind her back. Elize was saying to the parents that before Marcus went missing, she actually confronted Marcus about this. Why would you cheat on me? Why would you do that? He then packed his bag and he left because honestly he really didn't want to answer all those confrontations. And you know what? The funny thing is, Marcus didn't even beg. He was like, yeah, so whatever. It is what it is. Yes, I cheated. What's the big deal? He didn't even apologize. He didn't even beg. He did what he wanted to do. He just packed his bag and he left. Elize is telling his parents that Marcus is not missing and that he left and he walked out on his own will. And his parents are devastated. They're so upset. They couldn't even believe that this was actually happening. And they really did take her side. And you know, Marcus's mother was so sad, and she kept telling Elize that how sorry she was and how she didn't even raise this man to be this way. But unfortunately, he turns out to be this way. So the grandmother's really upset of her because of her granddaughter as well. Oh, this child, now she's going to be raised without a father. She did calm down Elize and was telling Elize that, look, don't worry, I will fix everything for you. I will make sure everything's okay with you, money-wise or whatsoever. Please do not worry. Eventually, what the parents did, they did actually end up telling the parents that Elize's husband, Marcus, walked out on her. And obviously, likewise, they showed evidence. They slowly dropped the case and the ransom theory. This whole thing went just cold, okay? And after a day, Marcus's brother gets an email from Marcus. The email was saying that to worry about him and that he was okay and no one should be worried about him. And he also told, Marcus also told his brother that he is sorry that he's leaving Elize. It also kind of implied to the note saying that the police should actually stop looking for him. They thought that this is basically a proof that he was alive and proof that he just ran away. As far as the police were concerned, the police thought that there was really nothing to investigate. So what should they even investigate about if there's no story and no missing person? Like, everything's fine. But after a week, there was a gruesome discovery. About 30 kilometers away where Marcus lived, his dead body was found, chopped up into several pieces. Marcus Matsunaga's dead body has been dismembered and scattered throughout fields and woodlands. And half of his body was actually packaged in like blue garbages, and half of them was just literally scattered like throughout the ground. Like, it was here and there, like it was literally everywhere. The body was literally everywhere. So the first body that was found, I mean, that was one of his limbs, of course. It was his leg that was found in the grass. And then in the blue bag, there was his hand, and then his other hand was found on the other side of the grass. And in the blue bag, he was obviously wearing clothes. Like, while his body was here and there, he was obviously wearing clothes. And because of the clothes, the police were able to identify that this was Marcus because he was wearing some real designer clothes. And obviously because of the clothes, the police were able to identify that this was Marcus. And his head was it was hard to find his head because his head wasn't really nearby. And of course, when the police actually put the puzzle together, they found out that, okay, yes, this is Marcus Matsunaga, and they also took him to the medical report, and even the medical report said that, yes, this is Marcus Matsunaga. And when they found his head, the police could actually tell how Marcus's death was caused. So they don't know how Marcus was murdered until they found the head. The bullet went right through his head, and then it exited right through his jaw. One single gunshot was the cause of the death. When all of these body parts was actually transported to the morgue for an autopsy, it was noted that all of the cut that was done on the body, they'd been done very well. Like, it was so clean, the cut was really clean. So it was probably someone who has a good idea or a good knowledge of biology. The police immediately starts thinking that the killer has some sort of medical knowledge. The police has no idea from where they should start the investigation because it was just so puzzled and so messy that there was no leads, there was no suspects, so they were confused. The police thought that the best way to actually start this whole investigation was to go to his building, his apartment, and, you know, search for evidence wherever they could find. And when I speak about evidence, it means like they take all the security camera footage from the day he went missing, because the last person who saw Marcus alive was Elize. Obviously, based on what Elize said, that Marcus just left for work and then after that she just never saw him. So the police wanted to see if Marcus was acting in any sort of way, if he was being weird, suspicious, or in any sort of way. So the police wanted to know, hence this is why the police actually took the security footage. What the police did, they start watching the CCTV footage, and it shows that he was wearing the diesel jeans and the polo shirt on the footage. This footage was from May 19th, 2012. It was the day Elize got back from a trip. She never even went to see the private investigator. I think the only way Elize would get to know information about what's going on with Marcus is by texting and calling. Elize was just back from visiting her family, so basically what Marcus did, he went to the airport and picked Elize up. He was just helping Elize with the suitcases or whatever. At this point, Elize never even mentioned about the fact that she knows that Marcus was cheating, and at this point Elize just said that she was actually acting cool, she was playing cool because she honestly didn't want him to feel in any sort of way. She was going to wait until they both go home. Like, she didn't want to bring it in the car or the lift or anywhere because she actually wanted to relax and then actually talk about this like in a very calm way. So as you can see in the footage, everything is actually quite normal. Marcus goes out again to get the pizza that he has ordered, and in that footage it was said that people think that Marcus looks a bit nervous, a bit antsy, I don't know. Marcus collects the pizza from the delivery guy and then he heads back up in the apartment, and when he goes back into the building, he never comes out after that. Marcus never really left the apartment, but it shows that Elize left the apartment and that she was leaving with 3 heavy suitcases. And while she's dragging the suitcases, it looks like she's actually struggling. And the next time she's seen on the CCTV footage, she leaves the whole apartment building with these suitcases and then later comes back with empty-handed, like there's no suitcase or whatsoever. So where did she go? What was in those suitcases? Why did she, like, why isn't it with her? Now, police here, obviously, they clocked on to whatever happened. 2 + 2, they literally did their maths, and it shows that Elize Matsunaga, man, it's so hard to pronounce her last name, but yeah, basically it shows that Elize was the last person that saw Marcus, and she was the one that was literally dragging 3 heavy suitcases here and there. So obviously the police kind of sort of clocked on to what exactly happened. Obviously after seeing the whole footage, they immediately went to Elize's apartment and they arrested her right away. So she did try to deny it, but it didn't work. So regardless, she was charged with his murder. She ended up admitting that she did actually murder Marcus Matsunaga. She told the police that she and Marcus has been arguing the whole night. Before it happened, they had been arguing for hours. Ever since they both got into the apartment, this whole argument literally started. Elize and Marcus both were really tired and they didn't want to cook anything, so they ordered pizza. And Marcus was acting weird. He was on his phone. He actually took a phone call while he was going downstairs. The delivery man was actually waiting for Marcus, but Marcus was on the phone while he was on his way down to actually collect the pizza. And then after he comes back in the room, he was like, oh, it was my dad who was on the phone. What Marcus said was, he was like, my dad literally needs me and I'm gonna be over at his place. And then after that, after I'm done eating, I'll actually go back to my dad's house because he needs help with something. Elize right away knew that Marcus was lying. She knew that Marcus was ditching her for some girl. And Elize, of course, she was actually fuming because she has been out of town for like a week. And after returning home, after one whole week, you want to be away from house? Like, how does that make sense? And obviously at this point, Elize was fuming. She could not believe that this man was actually trying to ditch her. Elize wanted to talk about this in a very calm, gentle way. But as soon as Marcus said that he had to leave the house after dinner, like, Elize lost it. She couldn't be calm after that. She was literally raging. She was screaming at him, knowing that why he wasn't giving her time, which is understandable. She ends up telling Marcus that I know that you're lying to me, like, why are you lying to me? And this time Marcus didn't even try to calm her down, didn't even say anything. Didn't even beg for her forgiveness. He was like, yeah, fine, like, yeah, you caught me, it is what it is, that's what I'm doing. In fact, he did the complete opposite. He was just so mad. He was telling Elize how insecure she is and how crazy she is because she's literally making this whole thing up. He was literally telling her, he was like, oh, you're crazy, you're stupid, you're literally making this up. Yeah, this argument was just so like bad that throughout the whole relationship, Marcus always called Elize insecure, and he would always tell her how crazy she is and that she was unstable and that Elize wasn't a fit mother to the daughter. Like, that's what Marcus would always tell Elize. Throughout this whole relationship, Marcus was very possessive. He didn't like Elize having any male friends or any female friends. He would control her and tell her what she was allowed to do, what she wasn't allowed to do. When Elize went to law school, Marcus would ring her every half an hour. He wanted to know where Elize was, who she was with, what she was doing. Like, he wanted to know everything about Elize and making sure that she wasn't with any boys. She also sometimes had to tell her male friends not to talk with her because her husband would actually would lose it. This was like a constant thing throughout their whole relationship. Like, this is how the whole relationship even went. Make her feel so worthless and less than human. And not just that, Marcus also had an issue that Elize was actually a sex worker, which is kind of dumb to me because this is actually where you literally found Elize. Would also tell his wife that good luck finding another man because you're literally a sex worker. No one would even look at you, no one would even marry you. You're lucky that you have me because I'm all you need. This was a constant thing. Marcus would say that to Elize every now and then. Every time there was an argument, every time Elize wanted to leave a relationship, he would keep reminding her how she's even lucky that while they were arguing, Marcus at some point literally slapped Elize. And that was the first time Marcus has ever done anything like that. And he was never physical with her. He never harmed her physically. After getting slapped, Elize was like, you know what, like, I'm not dealing with this. You can do whatever you want. I'm leaving, I'm done, I'm out of here. So Elize was telling Marcus that she was actually going to get a divorce. And Marcus was like, fine, okay, leave me, do whatever you want. I'll see like which man even takes you. Like, your job was literally a sex work. And then he was also like, okay, fine, you can leave me, but you can't take our daughter. He was like, don't you dare take our daughter with you. And then he was like, I'm going to make sure that you don't even get custody of our daughter. He was going to tell everyone that Elize is crazy, that she was completely unstable, unfit to look after this kid. He also threatened Elize, get her into like some sort of institution, mental hospital. But yeah, he threatened Elize that he would literally take the custody away from Elize. And not just that, on top of that, he was actually threatening her that he will literally send Elize to a mental hospital. And this is basically something that he would always threaten Elize about. He would always tell her how he was going to send her to a mental hospital. Like, he literally was like, I have money, I have a power, I can literally send you to a mental hospital. Like, that was a constant thing throughout the entire relationship. Elize says that she doesn't really remember that much of what happened that day. The day she actually shot him, she doesn't really remember that much. She had a gun with her, and he was like, oh, so now what? Are you gonna shoot me? Go ahead, shoot me. Like, you can't do it. You're a loser. This is what Marcus kept telling Elize, how much of a loser she is, and how she can never be a woman because she can't pull the trigger. And then suddenly she ends up pulling the trigger, and it was just one shoot, and it went right through his head, out of his jaw. And Elize at this point knew. She was on the floor, she was crying because she couldn't believe that she just shot a man, her daughter's father. So she was like, you know what, I have to do this for my daughter. I have to be there for my daughter. Elize knew that if she goes to jail, her daughter's not going to have a father or a mother, and she had to do something in order to cover up this crime, because she knew that her daughter needed her mother, and the only way she could be there for her daughter is to get away with this murder. Elize said that she really didn't know what to do, what else she could do to actually dispose this body. The only way she knew that she could get away with this murder is by chopping it up. That's what she did. She went and grabbed their hunting knives, and then she basically cut him piece by piece. Obviously, in the autopsy, it showed that Elize had quite a lot of skills with knives. Later on, it all kind of made sense. Like, it sort of clicked. The police was like, oh, okay, like, before she was a nurse, and now suddenly she's chopping up bodies and all that. So that makes sense. Like, we understand where she's coming from. But that's not true. The only reason why she was good at dismembering him was because Marcus actually taught Elize how to do this with animals. Marcus really taught Elize how to debone them, how to cut different types of animals, muscle versus gristle and all that. It was Marcus who taught Elize everything that she knew, and it was also Marcus that actually bought the gun for Elize that she used to shoot and kill him. After cutting him into pieces, what Elize did, she actually stuffed her husband in 3 different suitcases. And then after all this, Elize, for the next 2 weeks, she put on the act of a very grieving wife act. She seemed very, very sad of what happened. And every time she came in contact with everyone, all of them said the same thing, was that Elize seemed very upset. Even in the court, there was a lot of people that was calling her a gold digger, and that the reason why she killed him was because of his money. But honestly, that didn't even make sense. Even the lawyers was a bit dumbfounded about what the hell are these people even saying. There was literally a debate, men and women literally saying that, oh, this is what happens when you get married to a gold digger. And there was also a woman literally fighting for her, saying that she was actually being tortured for the past few years. And not just that, they also kept bringing up the fact that Elize was a sex worker. And not just that, they went far to a point where they actually did a DNA test on Marcus's and Elize's baby to see if that was if that was Marcus's baby, and the results did come back, and guess what, it was actually Marcus's baby and Elize's. But yeah, like, Elize was always quite serious about Marcus. There was no sign of her cheating on Marcus or whatsoever. She genuinely liked him. Like, she really tried her best to be loyal for Marcus, but unfortunately for Marcus, he wasn't really loyal. And this case is just so confusing. Like it's confusing. Like, you don't know whose side to really take. Like, it's really confusing. I was actually battling with this. I was like, whose side do I take? Like, after reading the debate online of what exactly happened between Marcus and Elize, and both the parties was actually bringing up really good points. But for me to even side with one, me supporting this, like, this whole story is just very neutral. Like, I literally have nothing to say. Like, I can't say that, oh, I support this party, I support that party. Like, I don't have any, how do you say that? I can't side with anyone, if that makes sense. It doesn't really make sense, because even in the courtroom, it showed that Elize Like I said, I can't really give my opinion here, but here's what I think. I mean, here's what I actually found out. They kept saying that Elize shot for self-defense, which doesn't really make sense, because it says that he was 6 feet away and then Elize shot. But if Marcus was around 5'8", she was around 5'6" or 5'4", he was probably moving his hand around and he was basically moving like this. And then suddenly she just shot him while he kept saying that, oh, you don't have the guts to shoot me. You can't shoot me. You're a chicken. You're a loser. You can't do this. You can never do anything. And people says that she actually did this on purpose because the gun at that time wasn't loaded. But when Marcus went downstairs to get the pizza, she actually loaded the gun and then she was actually waiting for him to gain the room so that she can shoot him. But I don't know, this whole thing is just so confusing. And I do think, like personally, if you ask me, I do think personally Elize did plan to shoot him, because all the moves that she did is so calculative. The fact that she sat down for hours and literally cut him into pieces, that too very carefully. She didn't just go around and just no, she didn't just cut him off like that. She actually took the time in how to do it perfectly. I think it was planned, but I'm not sure. This is what the trial kind of found, that Marcus was breathing his own blood. Even in the trial, it was discovered that Marcus had blood in his lung, which means he was alive while Elize was decapitating him, while Elize was literally he was breathing in his own blood and he was sort of choking on it. He was probably still alive even after that gunshot wound, and he was alive while his head was being hacked off his body. Even in the court, like the lawyers literally tried, their best to show that Elize is a cruel human being. I agree with that. I mean, she is. But Elize was like, look, if that's true, then I would have never done that. I would have never dismembered his body, because I didn't know that he was still alive, which I kind of agree, because I didn't know that after a gunshot to the head, a person can still be alive. Like, that's something new. Like, I just learned that literally yesterday. Elize was found guilty for murdering her husband, and she was actually sentenced to prison for 20 years. She'll be out in the year 2035. She'll be out by then. Like, she feels really guilty, and how remorseful she is. Elize said that if she could, she would literally take it all back, because she did that out of fear. She was scared. She said that she acted completely out of character and that she's really sorry for what she has done that night. And she said that she would literally take it back if she could, and she wishes that she could have, she gets nightmares of his severed head in blood, and like the severed head is talking to her. I mean, yeah, like basically it talks to her, and honestly it sounds really sad and scary at the same time. Right now she's still in prison. Oh, and the update on the baby's doing fine. The baby's being raised by Marcus's parents. And that is all I have on this case, and thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time on another similar story like this. If you guys have any suggestion for me or anything, please do let me know, because honestly I don't mind doing stories and all that as a request. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.